What's up, Em?
No, just putting on some makeup.
Yep.
So, Cody, what have you seen from him? Where do you feel like he best fits?
I think we're kind of wondering that ourselves. I think he obviously fits as a starter. We're trying to see what that looks like. I think maybe as we stretch him out, probably will only go 3. He may go 4 innings today, but I think as we stretch him out to see how that looks, it'll give us a good idea of what him as a starter would look like. His makeup, his ability to kind of pitch in the big leagues at a young age, with not really a whole lot of experience before this year, hasn't really pitched in a couple years, is pretty impressive. Clearly, he's got to be, just like everybody else, got to be consistent. But the slow heartbeat, the way he can execute his pitches, the stuff that he has, it's all a positive for us for sure.
How much of it, when you're weighing that, is stuff versus everything else? Like the number of pitches, the repertoire?
Yeah, I think it's, when we look at pitching and how we develop pitching, I think it's, can a guy throw the ball over the plate? Is he, does he have conviction to throw it over the plate? Does it matter who's hitting? He doesn't really seem to get bothered by a whole lot. We noticed that kind of the first time I met him. Just watching him throw bullpens, I'm standing right behind. Just his ability to kind of communicate with his coaches in that setting where a lot of guys you can see they get kind of, the big league manager, the big league pitching coach is watching. You can see their effort level goes up, their anxiety level kind of goes up. They get a little bit off at times, but he doesn't seem to be bothered by anything. And when we put him in the game, you can see the same thing. He just went out and executed pitches. Talked to him about it. He's like, he goes, what am I going to do? Like, I have to go out and, I trust my stuff. I know my stuff plays in the strike zone, and, I know the game plan, and I know that what I can do to certain hitters, and it doesn't really matter who's hitting at this point. It's a pretty advanced mindset, especially for a younger pitcher.
And then finally, last one from me. With, it looks as if all your position players are in place as far as injured list, not on the injured list. Have you figured out a plan for how you're going to use everybody kind of in the short term and the long term?
I think, obviously there's certain guys they're going to get days. Not everybody's going to be able to play on a daily basis. Some guys will. Some guys, maybe guys like Kiner and Solak have been playing pretty much every day, and, they may get a few days off here and there. But I think everybody's going to play, especially the younger guys. I want to see them.
Other questions? TR.
Could you elaborate, please, sir, as far as Odor, what your plan is for him now that he is activated?
Just kind of similar to the rest of the guys, and I know I've talked to him. He's not going to play on an everyday basis. He's got to kind of earn his playing time, and I know he hasn't swung the bat as well as he'd like this year. He's put a lot of work in, but we need to see obviously more consistency, and we've been saying that all along. So he's not going to play every day, but he's going to, if he does start to hit and earn some playing time, then he'll play more if he does that.
You gave a repetitive question, but you did put Chu on the IL. So, again, it is important for you and for Chu for him to play again this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It's, this one, I don't think he would be ready until probably the weekend. It didn't make sense to keep him on the IL. Obviously, we had to make a move today, and he understood that. So, he should be back at some point in the middle of next week. And, yeah, I fully expect him to kind of be activated and to play.
One more housekeeping. Have you identified a second game starter for Saturday?
We're looking at different options, but I think Benjamin kind of stands out a little bit. He may not start that game, but he's going to pitch that game. We may use a right-handed, I don't know if it's an opener for Benjamin because Benjamin's not a typical starter, but we may use a righty to start and then bring Benjamin after that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Other questions? Sam.
With Danny kind of being out, I guess at least a couple, do the math, maybe a couple months into next season, is he the kind of guy, would he come back and would he fit right back in, be someone you'd automatically start? Is he someone that has to earn his job back? I know it's been kind of a lost year for him, and just kind of what it means.
Yeah, we're gonna have to obviously address that when it comes to it. See how he feels obviously physically. He's gonna have to earn it back. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's just the way obviously this game goes. He'll get every opportunity to do that. If he feels healthy enough and he's ready to roll, when it comes time. obviously we'll give him the best opportunity possible, but he's going to definitely have to earn it back for sure.
And kind of just going off of that a little bit, I mean, obviously it's probably a similar deal with maybe Leclerc or Willie, just guys who kind of had lost years, and there are people that have stepped up maybe and filled the roles pretty well. I mean, how do you kind of foresee your future in just in the context of maybe those three guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Leclerc, obviously, he's going to have some sort of role, when he gets back, when he's fully healthy. Willie, I believe the same thing. It's just, I don't think anybody on this roster, that everybody's going to have to earn what they get. And I like that. I think it's better that way. It's a healthy competition. I fully expect Willie to come back and be one of our best hitters. And he's going to have to prove that, obviously, but I fully expect that, just the way this kid swings the bat. So same thing with Leclerc. You see the stuff that he has, and he's going to obviously fully want to come back and be a big part of our bullpen, and we're going to give him that opportunity.
Other questions? Evan?
This probably is more housekeeping and maybe even out of your purview, but if I'm going by 7 or 8 months, we're talking about Danny not being ready till May or June of next year, right?
It could be as early as late March. I mean, it is a 7+ month recovery.
Okay, but this also would potentially impact the club's decision on whether or not to tender him, correct?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I was looking at service time. Hey Woody, on something entirely different, I'm just wondering what your thought is. I'm looking at different lineups around the league today, and there's Puerto Rican players who are wearing 21, and I know other players are being offered the ability to wear a patch. You're going to have nobody, unless Hector wears 21 in the coaching box, I don't think you've got anybody who's going to be wearing 21. Do you have strong feelings on Clemente Day and what should take place with Major League Baseball at all?
Evan, before he answers that question, we have 3 people wearing 21. Hector Ortiz was also offered to veteran players. You probably, there was not a huge jersey inventory, so it was offered here to our veteran players, and Elvis and Chu are also wearing 21 today, and then everybody will wear the patch.
Was only being offered to Puerto Rican players. I apologize for misunderstanding that.
Well, again, this was kind of a late thing by MLB, where they offered it, and then you could offer it to players on a limited basis because of the uniform inventory. And we started with the veteran guys in addition to natives of Puerto Rico. And I will not.
All right, thank you for clearing that up. I apologize, Woody. Didn't mean to put you in a tough spot. Thank you.
No, I don't mind talking about Clemente Day. Obviously, I think it's a tremendous day. Obviously, we had Jackie Robinson Day, not too long ago, and now we have Roberto Clemente Day. I think it's important that we celebrate, his life and what the kind of human being that this man was. I think it's very, very relevant to not only our game, but into society right now and what everybody's kind of going through, man. This guy was, I got a chance to visit the Clemente Museum in Pittsburgh. And that was one of the coolest things I've ever got to do. That was one of the most, I don't know, I learned, so much about that man and his family and just, who he was, how he, what he cared about. And I was just, for 2 or 3 hours or whatever, how long that tour was, I was just in awe of what this man did in his lifetime, in his short lifetime, honestly, in only 37 years. So it's sad, but at the same time, I believe that we should celebrate that, and we should celebrate it, often, honestly, because this guy, took not only being a superstar, but there's not even a word to describe who he was and how he was. Superstar is not the right word. It's almost there's so many things he did that we need to talk about, especially like I said, like the relevance in today's society. It's really important.
Great, thank you, Woody. I appreciate that.
Other questions? Alex.
Woody, Scott Hyman's been on this roster since day one of the regular season, but he just has over 50 at-bats. Have you seen on the offensive side, how would you describe the type of hitter that he is?
Unfortunately, this year he's been unlucky. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. He's made some improvements, and I think recently he's made some from what I'm seeing, and it may not show up in the games at times, but when I'm watching his routines and his batting practice and just hearing him talk, he's really trying to make some positive changes. He's trying to really get himself to a better place as a hitter, and I applaud him for that. Some of the times, obviously, he hasn't been playing as much, and I'm going to try to get him in here as much as possible. Obviously, there's a lot of guys that I want to see right now on our roster, but the kid's got great work ethic, and he's been really open to kind of, like I said, working on some things that I think are gonna hopefully create some positive change for him as he moves forward.
So would you call this a successful campaign and trying to trend upwards after his rookie season?
Yeah, I would. I just feel bad for him because he has been really unlucky. If you look at a lot of his process numbers aren't bad. They're actually, some of them are above average, and you look at his overall numbers, they're not great. But it's one of those things where if it's a bigger sample size, I think it all evens out, and his numbers would probably be where they should be. But right now they're just not because of the small sample.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. You talked about what you learned about Roberto Clemente. Should his 21 be retired in baseball?
Ooh, I would be for it. I would be. I think, if we talk about, not only what he did, obviously he's a Hall of Famer. You can obviously make an argument for or against it. I don't know where where MLB stands on that. Obviously, we only have one, and that's very well deserving of Jackie Robinson. But like I said, what he did off the field, obviously what he did on the field was, one of the best of all time. You watch old highlights and you see the arm, the speed, the bat, everything. He's obviously one of the best players. But what he did off the field, I think we should celebrate more often when athletes, conduct themselves in this way. We celebrate other people that aren't athletes, in that way. We talk, humanitarian and just all the things that he did. I think it would be really important for, just everybody in the world to kind of, especially outside of baseball, to just recognize that this man was special. Probably one of the most special athletes we've ever had in any sport. So I would be for it. I don't know where MLB stands on that, though.
Cody.
Anything else? Jeff, last question.
You were talking about a little bit with Heineman and talked about it with Gallo. How are you going to evaluate players this season in only 60 games? Yeah.
It's tough. I mean,
a good season or not?
Yeah, you gotta dig deep. I think you gotta look deep, deeper than just the the OPS and the batting average and some numbers that may be out of their control. If you look at it, and it's on us. Honestly, I've said this from day one since I've gotten here. This is the one season where we have to look deep to say, okay, have you improved? Have you gotten better? Maybe the overall numbers don't look great from the outside, but then you look down deep and then you say, okay, you've done some good things. If we just had more time, or if you had more at-bats, in Heineman's case, maybe things would, even out, and maybe this is where you should be. So maybe, we have to show these guys, especially some of these guys that like Heineman's, for example, if he's unlucky, put a stat line to say, hey, this is what you should have done. This is what if you were unlucky, this is what you are. This is if you were lucky, this is what you would be, and this is what you should be. Just so that they understand, because I feel bad for Heine at times because he's grinding hard, man. He's like the other day he had 2 balls, almost hit a homer, and then lined out to right, and his 3 at-bats. That's a productive game, and it's just he's over 3. So it's really important on us as a staff to make sure that they understand that, and so that they don't lose hope and try to redo something in the offseason and look at it as a lost year.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we all good?
Hey, Woody, so all hands on deck from the pitching perspective, but that out by Chavi could have been the turning point in the game.
Yeah, no, obviously there was 2 points, obviously, I thought, and I was going to try to hit on that. Bases loaded, 1 out. One of the best hitters, with Ohtani. I know Ohtani's struggling this year, but, for Chavi to come in and keep the game right there, that won us the game. I mean, that game could have blown wide open, and they got a pretty good offensive club over there. So to keep it where it was, then he got obviously Pujols right after that. So he got 2 hitters. That was the game. And then our bats in the 5th inning, basically, obviously solidified the win.
Eli White finally gets it, and it came at a big time and a crucial spot, a meaningful spot. What was that like for him coming back into the dugout?
Oh my gosh! I mean, I think everybody in the organization, I think, was relieved because the kid's been doing everything he could possibly do to get a hit without getting one. You've seen people have bad luck, but never to really start a career like that. Usually, it's in the middle of a season, or you get a 20 at bat stretch where you just hit rockets everywhere and get out. But every ball he's hit has been hard. Even his ground balls have been hard. So for none of those balls to find a hole, or to find the outfield grass is pretty amazing. But yeah, that was a huge hit for us. Obviously tied the game and started that whole inning.
Oh, you talked about being aggressive on the base paths, and that's part of what you're able to do with the speed on this team. Is that kind of is this an example of kind of what you're wanting to do to be more aggressive in that regard as far as the double steal is concerned?
Yeah, no doubt. I was kind of surprised they actually threw the ball to second base with Taveras at third base. He did a good job of waiting until that ball was in the air before he went home. I thought Rengifo actually made a really good play to almost get him at home plate, but just good execution on both sides. Kiner got a good jump, and Taveras, waited, like I said, until the ball was in the air before he took off, and it's just a well-executed play.
Anybody holding their breath that this isn't real from Isaiah? Should they probably start breathing?
No, it's just the thing about Isaiah is he's got really elite bat to ball. He's never out of an at bat, and you can see tonight. Obviously, he got a little bit lucky tonight, just found some holes, but that's something that comes from good approach. Good go up there, put the bat on the ball. Honestly, you put pressure on the defense. He hits the ball hard. He uses the whole field. There's nowhere they can position him. That I think that's probably the biggest key. That's why you see a lot of his ground balls find holes, because he literally goes from line to line, and he did it today. So that's something that it's really hard to defend him.
That's it for me. Thanks, Cody.
Other questions, please. Start with Jeff.
Hey, what do you got on Trevino, and you guys have a roster decision to make a catcher?
Yeah, we probably will. Hopefully he'll be, I think I don't know how long he's going to be out. I don't think it's going to be as long as we think, though. I think it may only be a couple of days, but obviously we need to get somebody here. We can't have Mathis without a backup. Obviously Mathis is a little older, and you would hate for anything to happen and have to use Kiner in that situation. So we'll get somebody up here. Hopefully Trevino is only going to be out for 2 or 3 days. It was better than I anticipated. It was actually better than Chu's. So it's just a matter of when he feels comfortable enough to swing a bat.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? TR.
Jeff, I counted 5 rookies in your lineup, and I counted 5, studs in your lineup. I know it's just one night, but is that kind of cool to see your young guys not get intimidated by their star-spangled lineup and win a game like this?
Yeah, I think so. It's something I think we've all been excited, honestly, every day. They bring it. They're, like I said, I always talk about how hard they work, just their dedication, with the coaches and trying to, produce game plans. So when they get in there, one thing we know about these kids is they're fearless. They don't really care who's in the other opponent, in the batter's box, or who's pitching for the opposing team. That's one thing that very easy to see, what we saw in spring training last year and then this year, that these kids have no fear. And we just got to obviously corral them a little bit at times. They're a little aggressive and, over swinging at times, but, get them in the strike zone and they can do some damage.
Sam?
I know you talked a little about Eli. When he's struggling like that, do you communicate with him, or because like you said, you want him to know he's probably doing the right things? Is that a conversation?
Yeah, I think everybody's been supporting him. Everybody's kind of, feeling the pain that he's kind of going through, and it's not that he's, striking out, 2 out of the 3 times. He's hitting the ball hard. Everybody just feels bad that, for some reason he couldn't find the outfield grass or find a way to get a hit. So, the conversation, just keep doing what you're doing, man. Like, you're gonna have a long career. I know it's frustrating that you can't get, that first one out of the way in the beginning, but, today obviously he got it out of the way so he can kind of breathe a little bit and get a good night rest.
I don't know if you would be able to answer this, but if you need a catcher here, would you consider bringing up Sam Huff, or is that just?
Yeah, I think so. I think we would definitely consider that. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities, and obviously JD and I will discuss it.
Anything else for Woody? Last one, Levi. Is with John King ready?
this seems like a very small thing to notice, but when Leody Taveras hit his double and he kind of got to second base, it looked like it was a little bit reminiscent of Adrian Beltre, to be honest. He had like a little happy dance he did there with his legs. Is that? It seems to me like, all right, the kid feels comfortable now. Has that always been the case, and we're just seeing it, or did that seem like tonight he really seems more comfortable?
Yeah, I think so. I think he is. I mean, I definitely between the lines. I think you know, the one thing I definitely preach to our younger guys is to not get comfortable, especially when it comes to, you know, how they prepare for every game. You know, the second they take things for granted is when they usually get exposed, especially when they're young or even when they're old. I mean, it's a message we send on a daily basis. But between the lines, yeah, I think I've seen it from day one. You know, that's why I talk about how poised he is. So if that's comfortable, then that's the word you can describe him. Then it absolutely is, because he loves being out there and he loves competing in the big leagues, and you can see it.
I remember you saying there was a phrase you couldn't use in interviews. I'll go with comfortable, and we'll find a happy medium there somewhere at some point. So.
All right.
Thanks.
All good for Woody. Anything else? Evan, you got a quick one? Quick?
Hey Woody, just on the Huff thing, if you bring him up here, you know, if it's Chofo or Fedorovich or whatever, that's one thing. But if you bring Huff up here, do you intend to see him play?
Yeah, I wouldn't bring him up if we're not going to play him. I think that'd be kind of.
He'd kind of get those couple of games or however many it would be in all likelihood, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, great. Thank you.
Okay, guys, we're going to bring